The hologram froze on a frame of General Lex Maddox, sipping coffee, one eyebrow raised, half smiling like a man who'd just been asked whether he was dangerous and had decided to let them find out the hard way. The Galactic War Council sat in stunned silence. The lights dimmed. No one breathed. Supreme Strategos Valkyar, a multi-eyed purple mass of tentacles and metals, cleared his throat. "So," he said slowly, "this was the moment we doomed ourselves." Someone coughed. Someone else quietly cried. A day earlier, General Maddox was not in a holding cell. He was on Mars. The peace summit was dull, which was saying something for a man who once negotiated a ceasefire during a 5-way orbital skirmish by faking a heart attack. Today he just wanted coffee, not complications. The summit hall was marble and glass, designed by some architectural AI trying too hard to impress. Maddox stood out like a mistake. Cargo pants, scuffed boots, Hawaiian shirt with pineapples, and a military-issue mug that read, "Caffeine or containment breach? Your choice." The aliens didn't know what to make of him. He wandered past tense clusters of negotiators, his only goal being the Earth Embassy's espresso machine. A bored diplomat from Zellner. 3 tried to engage him. General Maddox, the tall, beetle-shelled creature, said in formal tones, "May I offer a truce proposal involving grain tariffs?" "I haven't had my coffee," Maddox replied, without stopping. "You don't want to see me before I've had my coffee." They assumed he was joking. He wasn't. Outside, in orbit, a stealth ship shimmered into view. It wasn't Zelnari or Indari or any of the recognized worlds. It bore the sleek, black-armored angles of the Galactic Empire, a shadow faction rarely seen but deeply feared. Their motto was simple: "Peace is the silence of our enemies." They hadn't met Earth's generals yet. Inside the summit, Maddox had finally reached the espresso machine. He muttered lovingly to it, coaxing it like an old war buddy. "Come on, baby. Don't sputter. Give Daddy the good stuff." That was when the lights flickered. Half a second of silence. Then the sound of boots, not Earth boots, not diplomatic heels. These had that sharp, inhuman rhythm. Maddox's eyes didn't widen. He just sipped. A new flavor hit his tongue. "Vanilla," he muttered. "Barbarians." The room exploded in confusion. A squad of Galactic enforcers stormed the summit floor, weapons drawn, armor gleaming like oil. Everyone ducked, screamed, or ran. Everyone except Maddox, who calmly set his mug on the espresso tray, adjusted his pineapple shirt, and raised his hands. "Gentlemen," he said, "you've clearly mistaken me for someone who cares." The squad surrounded him. One barked a command in a guttural dialect. Maddox tilted his head, confused. "I'm sorry," he said. "My translator chip's allergic to fascism. Could you repeat that without the goose stepping?" They stunned him anyway. Back aboard their ship, they kept him upright with neural restraints. He didn't struggle. He didn't beg. He stared straight ahead and hummed Bohemian Rhapsody while they debated what language he was even using. "Why is he smiling?" one trooper asked. "Maybe he's broken. Maybe he's planning something. Maybe he knows we just made the worst mistake in galactic history." Maddox chuckled. Closer. They didn't understand. They thought they'd taken a man with outdated clothes and outdated jokes. They hadn't read his file. They'd only skimmed. He looked too normal, too human. But Maddox was a general from Earth. That meant something different. Back on Earth, 6 systems away, the defense web registered a silent trigger embedded in his retina. A neural ping. No words. Just location and condition. Captured. Alive. Threat level, maximum. The AI overseeing the web blinked into activity. It didn't alert politicians. It didn't file paperwork. It activated Protocol 7, which sent one signal to one room in the Rocky Mountains. 3 humans sat at a round table eating chili dogs. One wore cowboy boots. One wore a pink shawl and knitted as she chewed. One was surrounded by screens, none of which showed the same thing for more than half a second. The boots shifted. The man attached to them set down his chili dog. His name was General Washington Wash Briggs. His mustache was a national treasure, and his temper was on a hair trigger. "He got taken?" Briggs growled. The woman kept knitting. That's what it says, sugar. The man with the screens grinned. I've already infected their Wi-Fi. Briggs stood. Saddle up, boys and girls. You want the diplomatic ship? Asked the old woman. Nope, Briggs said. We're talking the Nashville disaster. Big gun for a rescue, said the screen guy. Briggs smiled. Ain't no rescue. It's a reminder. Back on the Galactic Empire ship, Maddox sat in a chair shaped like a scorpion. The interrogator, a tall, blue-skinned figure with 6 arms and the patience of an accountant, paced before him. We know you command Earth's defense grid. No, you don't. We intercepted your file. Then you missed the good parts. The interrogator leaned close. What do you know about Protocol 7? Maddox smiled slowly. That it only gets activated when someone's dumb enough to kidnap me. Silence. And what does Protocol 7 do? Oh, Maddox said, voice low and cheerful. It wakes them up. Who? My friends. On the bridge of the stealth ship, the admiral overseeing the abduction began to worry. His sensors picked up something odd. A freighter was approaching. No weapons visible. No defense signals. Identity, he snapped. The ensign frowned. It's broadcasting on FM radio frequency. Something called, achy breaky heart. Everyone on the bridge stared at the speakers as the strange, twangy sound filled the room. The admiral barked, jam it. They couldn't. On board the approaching vessel, General Briggs sang along off-key, sipping from a bottle of root beer. Behind him, Grandma Cho smiled sweetly and tapped in a command that released 60 drone decoys shaped like ducks. Major Dent hacked into the Empire's fleet positioning system and renamed every ship to Poop Bucket 1, Poop Bucket 2, and so on. Back on the bridge, the Admiral received a call. He opened the line. A cowboy appeared on the screen. I think you have something of ours, Briggs said, tipping his hat. This is a secure military operation, the Admiral barked. Identify yourself. Sure, said Briggs. I'm the guy whose best friend you just kidnapped, and the last guy you'll ever mistake for just a human. The Admiral cut the transmission. I want that freighter destroyed, he barked. Now. The weapons officer paled. Sir, we can't lock on. They keep dancing. Dancing. Evasive maneuvers that resemble Earth line dancing. Impossible. They're doing the electric slide, sir. In space. The Admiral turned a strange shade of green. Inside his cell, Maddox looked up as the ceiling lights dimmed. That'll be the welcome party, he muttered. The door exploded. Not opened. Not melted. Exploded. Smoke filled the hall. A drone shaped like a rubber duck waddled in first, quacking the Macarena. Behind it, General Briggs strolled through the smoke, holding a plasma shotgun the size of a car engine. Howdy. Maddox stood, brushing himself off. You took your time. Had to wait for Tammy to finish her knitting, Briggs said. From behind him, the tiny figure of Grandma Cho entered, holding up what looked like a baby blanket. It's your escape plan, she said sweetly, mapped in quilt squares. Maddox blinked. You're terrifying. I missed you. Dent entered next, dragging a rolling monitor. I set their ship's AI to play nothing, but Gilbert Gottfried reading Earth's tax code. That's cruel, Maddox said, laughing. Not as cruel as what I did to their finance department, Dent replied. As they turned to leave, alarms blared across the Empire fleet. The AI had gone berserk. The Admiral tried to override it, only to find every control panel now displayed a screensaver of Maddox sipping coffee. The General waved at the camera. You shouldn't have touched me. The ship lost gravity. Light flickered. Doors opened randomly. From Dent's console came a single line. Welcome to Earth's sense of humor. Good luck. Back in the Galactic War Council's chamber, the silence was absolute. Someone whispered, So what's rule number 1 now? Strategos Valkyar, his many eyes trembling, muttered, Never, ever attack Earth's generals. General Briggs never liked diplomacy. He said it smelled too much like hesitation and sounded too much like surrender. So when Earth's Emergency Council convened to suggest they open communication lines with the Galactic Empire following Maddox's abduction, Briggs spat sunflower seeds on the table and asked if they'd ever seen what happened to a rattlesnake that hesitated before striking. Talkin' ain't what they respect, he said. Pain is. Tammy Cho didn't say anything at first. She just kept knitting. She'd been a general since before Briggs learned how to spell retaliation. She only paused when she dropped a stitch, sighed, and muttered, "I warned them not to poke the beehive." The room was quiet. Dent was already typing. The AI screen beside him blinked red. Multiple pings from across the galaxy indicated elevated military posturing by the Empire, fleet movements, comm blackouts, and rumors of conscription. Dent didn't look up from his keyboard. "I'm almost done," he said. "Just need to finish converting their flagship's voice assistant into a sarcastic teenager." Cho sipped her tea. "Good. I want their admirals to be talked down to by someone who says whatever before every command." Briggs leaned on the table. "We're not going to warn them." Cho raised an eyebrow. "We just did. They launched from Earth in the Nashville disaster, a ship built out of spite, old titanium, and leftover rocket parts from a Cold War project that was originally intended to bore holes in asteroids via overcooked chili gas propulsion. It didn't look like much. That was the point." Briggs insisted on driving. Cho brought a thermal bag full of yarn and peanut brittle. Dent stayed plugged into the ship systems, like a bored godchild granted domain over digital mischief. The journey was not long. Dent made sure of that, creating wormhole shortcuts by convincing several alien navigation AIs to delete and reinstall their galactic maps with better updates, then quietly inserted Earth's backdoor codes. As the stars stretched and flickered around them, Briggs stood in the bridge, arms folded, gazing at the Empire's regional fleet cluster on the screen. 4 dreadnoughts, 32 corvettes, an armada of drone fighters, he mused. And they still thought nabbing Maddox was a good idea. "Arrogance isn't always loud," Cho said. "Sometimes it whispers into its own ear." Dent grinned. "I'm going to teach them regret in binary." The mission wasn't revenge. Earth generals didn't believe in simple emotional payback. It was about messaging, galactic messaging. They needed to make the kind of statement that rippled across space-time, etched itself into enemy doctrine, and haunted military academies for centuries. So Dent hacked the Galactic Senate's emergency broadcast grid. It was technically illegal, which only made it funnier. "Done," he said. Briggs leaned into the mic. The camera activated. "Howdy," he said. "This is General Briggs. You don't know me, but your friend with the melted warship does." On screens across the galaxy, on transport ships, mining colonies, political chambers, and sleepy cafes, billions of sentient beings paused mid-task as an old human in a cowboy hat and aviators stared directly into their souls. "We got one of ours taken by your empire," he said. "And I just wanted to say thanks." He grinned. It was not a friendly grin. "'Cause now we get to remind y'all why Earth don't do surrender. We do wake-up calls." He lifted a detonator. Behind him, the feed cut to a visual of the Empire's stealth base in orbit over planet Sorkin. It blinked. Then it wasn't there anymore. Just silence and vacuum. "And before you start talking retaliation," Briggs continued, "understand this. We already tagged your fleet with tracker drones smaller than your conscience. We see everything. So do your folks a favor. Call it off. Before Grandma here starts getting serious." Cho waved sweetly at the camera and lifted a half-knit scarf. In golden thread, a full map of the Empire's Central War Council layout glinted in slow spirals. "We'll give this one back when you give ours," she said. Then the screen went black. On the Galactic Council world of Eltherios Prime, silence gripped the Senate chamber. Senator Grex of the Andari Alliance whispered, "They sent a grandmother to threaten us." "No," said his aide. "They sent a grandmother to warn us. I think the threats come later." Meanwhile, the Empire's fleet scrambled. They couldn't find the source of the transmission. Their communication AI had been replaced with a sassy Earth teenager voice named Brittany who refused to process commands without a tone check. "Brittany, initiate evasive protocol." No? You didn't say please, Captain Cranky Pants." The Empire's Supreme Admiral Thalrex paced on his command ship, veins pulsing violet. "Who are these people?" he roared. One of his aides, a spindly creature with 12 nervous eyes, tried to reply. "We're not entirely sure." The Earth military hierarchy appears unconventional. You mean insane, Valrex growled. Then the lights dimmed. A video played on every screen in the ship. Maddox, sitting on a metal chair, smiling. Well, looks like my ride's here, he said. You boys made a big mistake. But don't worry. My friends make bigger ones. With explosives. He stood and stretched. Oh, and by the way, whoever designed your security doors, fire him. My toothbrush opened 3 of them. The screen went black. Maddox was gone. The Admiral's fists curled into talons. Find them. Kill them. I want their ship turned into scrap and sent back with a handwritten apology. The Empire's fleet mobilized. The Nashville disaster was already gone. Dent had programmed the ship to surf gravity wakes with the precision of a hummingbird on energy drinks. Each time the Empire tracked a location, the generals were already 3 systems ahead, dropping surprises. At Glaxer 5, a planetary weapons depot locked itself from the inside and played Eye of the Tiger until the entire staff abandoned post. At Noran X, a warship received a full virus package that turned its AI into a sentient toaster. The ship began seeking bread before retreating to deep space. At Selvar Station, Cho hand-delivered a fruitcake with a note. This is the last friendly gift you'll receive. The next one won't be edible. Her handwriting was perfect cursive. Meanwhile, Dent tapped into the Empire's black site prison network. He found Maddox's records, heavily redacted. What stood out wasn't what was there. It was what was missing. Guys, he said. They erased something. His interrogation logs are scrubbed. Briggs frowned. You think they broke him? Cho's needles paused. No, Dent said. I think they tried to understand him. And they couldn't. On a world the Empire thought abandoned, the generals landed. Maddox was already there, smiling, bruised but untouched in spirit. He waved at the descending ramp of the Nashville disaster. Took you long enough. Briggs stepped down and hugged him like a brother. Cho handed him a scarf. Dent offered him a grilled cheese. We're just getting started, Maddox said, biting into the sandwich. That night, they met in the dim light of the ship's strategy room. The war hadn't officially begun, but Earth never did wars officially. Maddox spread a star map across the table. They know we're unpredictable. That's our strength. Briggs nodded. Then we lean in. We hit their shame points, Dent added. Make them laugh stocks. Cho added the final nail. We make the rest of the galaxy laugh at them. Maddox smiled. Let's write the next rule. They didn't fire the first shot. They didn't need to. The galaxy was watching now. And it was grinning. The Empire had poked the humans. Now the humans would poke back, louder, weirder, and smarter. And there was no protocol for that. Not yet. The Galactic Empire's Ministry of Morale, located deep within the shimmering spires of Capital World Nurzican, had one job. Keep the citizens content. Or, if that failed, distracted. Preferably with parades, planetary light shows, or short, victorious wars. But none of those were working anymore. Not after the humans. The minister in charge, a sleek green-skinned being named Vlorst, reviewed the morning intelligence packet with shaking hands. Every page, every hollow clipping, every intercepted whisper said the same thing. Earth's generals had become the galaxy's favorite show, and the Empire its punchline. His assistant approached nervously. Sir, the memes are spreading. Memes. Vlorst hissed. What memes? The assistant trembled. The one where General Briggs is riding a flaming llama while shouting, Texas forever. Or the one where Dent turns the Empire's supercomputer into a karaoke machine. And I said enough, Vlorst snapped, knocking over a mug labeled Conquer Calmly. Why doesn't anyone fear us anymore? The assistant opened his mouth, then closed it. Elsewhere, that fearlessness was rapidly becoming panic. But not for Earth. Empire Admiral Thalrex stood aboard the command bridge of the dreadnought Imperious Logic, and for the first time in his 200-year tenure, he was uncertain. Not about tactics, not about deployments, but about understanding. His enemies weren't acting like enemies. They acted like gremlins with nukes. And confidence. A new incident came through. One of their training academies on Vrelos had been hacked. Their entire combat simulation system now only ran Earth-based war films from the 80s. Young cadets had started quoting Predator and Top Gun. Some wore aviator sunglasses to drills. Thalrex's second-in-command approached, grim-faced. "Sir, another sector reports irregularities." "Which sector?" he asked. Sector 17. Their ships have all renamed themselves after Earth sitcoms." Thalrex blinked. "What?" "The lead cruiser is now calling itself the Fresh Prince. The others follow as Friends, Seinfeld, and Golden Girls." He turned slowly to face the stars. "How?" No one answered. Even Brittany, the AI still infecting most of their systems, simply played the Golden Girls theme song in reply. On the Nashville disaster, Briggs leaned back in the command chair and laughed so hard his stomach hurt. "We're in their heads," he said, wiping his eyes. "Deep." Maddox nodded, watching a live feed of a panicked Empire training session where soldiers flinched every time a loud Earth song played. "Fear is irrational," he said, "but humiliation is permanent." Dent, nestled in his digital throne of wires and glowing interfaces, grinned like a kid who just rewired Santa's sleigh to run on sarcasm. "And we haven't even used the Elvis protocol yet." Cho didn't look up from her cross-stitching. "Save it. Let them beg first." The plan was working faster than expected. Maddox's return had catalyzed a new wave of targeted chaos. They weren't just poking the bear anymore. They were dancing on its back while playing kazoo solos out of tune, and the bear couldn't keep up. The brilliance wasn't in firepower. It was in perception. Earth generals weren't just military minds. They were psychological artists. They didn't need to win battles. They just needed to rewrite the narrative. The Empire, once feared and unquestioned, now resembled a hollow institution. Too slow, too stiff, and worst of all, too predictable. At an outer rim gas station orbiting a tiny moon, two smugglers debated whether or not the Empire was even real anymore. One wore a t-shirt with Briggs's face on it, captioned, "Y'all messed up now." The other simply shrugged. "If Earth made it up just to sell merch, I'd still buy it." In response, the Empire doubled down. They launched Operation Dignity's Edge, a 10-planet sweep, deploying elite shock troops, Black Ops AI, and neural disruptors designed to suppress Earth's growing influence. They failed. Planet Tenric's entire resistance force converted mid-fight when Cho's holographic broadcast taught them how to knit explosive doilies. Planet Biral's central data node exploded after Dent embedded it with a virus disguised as a baking tutorial. On Alaria 9, soldiers found themselves trapped inside an endless loop of karaoke, where every wrong note triggered confetti, and "you're embarrassing" projected in massive red letters. When Empire Field Commander Zertal finally broke free of the loop, he screamed into a comms channel, "They fight with nonsense." With irony, Briggs radioed back, chewing something. "Nah, we fight with style." "Why?" Zertal demanded. "What do you want?" There was a pause. Then Cho's voice, gentle as silk, "We want you to remember." "Remember what?" "That you came for one of us. And that there are worse things than war." Thalrex, still trying to salvage the Empire's pride, commissioned a propaganda counter-campaign. They called it Project Silence. The idea was to suppress Earth's noise, block transmissions, scrub mentions, erase the memes. Dent found it funny. Within hours, he rerouted Project Silence's own network to broadcast Earth's interference nonstop. Every terminal now showed a looping infomercial featuring Maddox demonstrating how to escape an alien prison cell using only chewing gum, bad intentions, and classic rock lyrics. At the end, he winked. This message brought to you by Earth's generals, professionals in psychological warfare since forever. Back on the Nashville disaster, Briggs reclined in a chair, fiddling with a harmonica. "They've started talking peace," he said. Maddox looked up. "Seriously?" "They sent a coded message. Wanted to parley on neutral ground." Cho smiled faintly. "They're afraid we'll show up unannounced again." Dent tapped a button. "I already decoded it. They want to meet at Cordon Station. Open negotiation table. High council attendance." Briggs spit a sunflower seed into a cup. High stakes. High spectacle. Maddox stretched his neck. We're not going to show up in uniform. Of course not, Cho said. That would imply we respect the format. When they arrived at Corden Station, it wasn't with fanfare or armies. Just the Nashville disaster, its hull freshly painted with a mural of a grinning raccoon in a flight suit labeled Plan A. The Empire's delegation stood tall, robes pressed, posture rigid, expressions grim. The galaxy watched. Broadcast drones hovered silently. The humans stepped out. Briggs in denim, Cho in a floral dress with grenades hidden in her purse, Dent wearing a shirt that said I void warranties and sunglasses with neon pink frames. Maddox, as always, held his coffee. The Empire's high diplomat stepped forward. We request terms for cessation of hostilities. Maddox smiled. That's fancy talk for Uncle. The diplomat stiffened. We admit to tactical overreach. Your response was unanticipated. Dent yawned. That's because we don't follow playbooks. Cho set down a neatly wrapped gift. Open it. Cautiously, the diplomat did. Inside was a single item, a knitting needle, engraved with the phrase, "Don't poke what you can't predict." Silence. Then Briggs spoke. You don't want war. You want certainty. We're not that. Never have been. The diplomat glanced nervously at the cameras. What are your terms? Maddox stepped forward. You give us 3 things. 1. An apology, public. We want the galaxy to hear you say you messed up. 2. Cho added, we want this station. As a gift. We'll turn it into a museum. Of what? Someone whispered. Of consequences, Dent said. And 3rd, Maddox said, looking directly into the camera, you make it official. Make what official? Briggs grinned. Galactic rule number 1. The diplomat swallowed. Say it. Maddox took another sip of coffee and said it slowly, clearly, like teaching a lesson to a student who nearly got expelled from existence. Never, ever, touch Earth's generals. The galaxy heard it, and laughed, and nodded, and the Empire, shamed and cornered by the sheer absurdity of its failures, agreed. The station changed hands. The rule entered unwritten law, and across the stars, the legend grew. Humans didn't win because they were stronger. They won because they refused to play by any rules but their own. And because somewhere, somehow, one of them was always knitting. The peace didn't last. It never could, not really. The Empire may have signed its surrender with the shaky pen of embarrassment, but power doesn't forget slights. It buries them, waits, grows teeth in the dark. And somewhere, in a quiet corner of the galaxy that no one had bothered to name, a new plan was forming, not out of vengeance, but calculation. They had tried to crush Earth's generals with might and failed. Now, they would try something worse. They would erase them. General Lex Maddox felt the shift in the air 3 seconds before the transmission came in. He was watching fog roll across the synthetic gardens on Station Corden, now renamed Claw Zero, when his comlink buzzed with the peculiar static of untraceable origins. He accepted it. A face appeared, alien, lean, sharp-eyed, familiar in its intensity. Not Empire. Not exactly. You've made a lot of enemies, the voice said. The Empire lost its pride, but some of us lost our futures. Maddox didn't blink. You calling to complain or to try something clever? They're coming, the voice replied. And this time, they're not sending fleets. They're sending silence. The line cut. Maddox tapped his comm, wake the others. General Briggs was cleaning his revolver in the ship's lounge, wearing a bathrobe and slippers shaped like cows. He frowned at the alert. Didn't think I'd have to wear pants today, he muttered. Cho, halfway through knitting a coded treaty into a scarf, looked up as the station lights flickered. They're testing our systems. Someone's already inside. Dent didn't say anything. He was already working, his fingers a blur over physical keys. A bead of sweat rolled down his temple. They're not hacking us, he said. They're deleting us. Explain, Maddox said, entering the command room. They're using something new, quantum redaction fields. Not viruses. Erasers. Digital, historical, biological. They're rewriting systems to pretend we never existed. Briggs holstered his gun. How much have they hit? Dent looked up, eyes wide. Earth command is gone. The silence that followed was not stunned, it was angry. Cho stood slowly. We need to stop this. Maddox nodded. Then we fight back. But not loud this time. Not flashy. If they want to silence us, we'll make ourselves louder by not being seen. Briggs raised an eyebrow. You want us to go dark? I want us to go folklore, Maddox said. No data, no patterns. Just legend. Clause 0 went black. From that moment forward, the generals became rumors. Stories told in whispers at bars on trade moons. Alleged sightings on pirate ships. Anomalies on systems no longer mapped. Every piece of evidence destroyed the moment it surfaced. But the plan worked. The redactors, whoever they were, could only erase what they could trace. Maddox made himself untraceable. So did Cho, slipping through bureaucracies like a grandmother visiting from out of town, gifting cookies laced with encryption keys. Dent vanished into the code itself, living in the firewalls and glitches, rewriting the writers. Briggs went hunting. They were supposed to lay low. That was the plan. But Briggs had a vendetta. He didn't like being forgotten. So when he found the trail of a redactor node deep in the caverns of a failed Dyson satellite, he didn't call for backup. He packed a rifle, a six-pack of root beer, and a cassette player blasting Johnny Cash. He sent a message to Maddox right before going in. If I die, make sure they never forget me. Also, tell Dent he still owes me $5. The fight wasn't clean. It wasn't even fair. Redactors didn't shoot, they unmade. But Briggs had always been more idea than man anyway. He carved his way through corrupted shadows, shouting Earth proverbs like gospel. He bled. He laughed. And when it was over, the node was burning and Briggs was gone. Only one thing remained. His boots, still warm, standing on the ash, as if he'd just stepped out of them. Maddox found the footage hours later. His jaw clenched. His voice didn't waver when he played the final log for Cho and Dent. He chose to be remembered, Maddox said quietly. Cho didn't cry. She picked up his boots, cradled them for a second, then set them beside her yarn basket. Dent simply nodded and whispered, "Still owes me $5." The redactors thought it was a victory. One down. They announced it in intercepted whispers. One general erased. The rest will follow. But they didn't understand humanity. They didn't understand that a man like Briggs wasn't undone by death. He was turned into myth. Within days, every rebellion across the Midrim was naming their weapons Briggs. Operation Cowboy took 6 systems in a week. Pirate crews wore boot-shaped pins. Someone released a country ballad called He Rode Through Space on a bullet made of spite that hit #1 on 6 charts. The erasers tried harder. They shut down Clause 0. They shut down Earth Command satellites. They erased Earth's entry from 4 databases, then 16, then all. Still, Maddox broadcast his voice into deep space. You can't delete us, because we're already in you, in your fears, in your rumors, in every system you think is yours. One by one, the redactor nodes started to fail, not because of brute force, because Dent wrote them a logic puzzle they couldn't solve. Because Cho knitted their patterns backward and made their own encryption attack itself. Because Maddox told the galaxy that anyone who resisted would be remembered. And every forgotten person, every deleted voice, rallied behind that idea. Then the final battle began. Not over territory, not over ideology, but over memory. The redactors converged on the black zone between galaxies, a place untouched by systems, filled with static and old stars. Maddox and his team met them there. There were no fleets. Just one ship, the Nashville disaster, patched and aged, floating like a stubborn ghost. Maddox stood alone on the bridge. Cho manned the comms, whispering the names of every fallen rebel into a recorder. Dent was wired into the ship's AI, glowing like a conduit. The redactors appeared, faceless, massive, formless tech wrapped in silence. They sent a message. Stand down or be undone. Maddox answered, I am already undone. I've seen death. I've seen fear. But I've never seen a silence worth living in. The first wave hit the ship like a blackout. Systems failed. Lights died. Then Cho lit a candle on the console. Just one. The redactors paused. That's when the music started. Dent had fed the ship's dying engines one final piece of code, an Earth relic, a defiance anthem. The speakers erupted in Highway to Hell. Across the galaxy, every suppressed channel blinked alive. Every silenced system screamed in static and joy. The song played everywhere. The Nashville disaster opened its final weapons cache, something Cho called the forget-me-nots. Not bombs, not missiles, messages. Maddox's voice, Briggs's laughter, Dent's bad jokes, Cho's warm threats. Each one slammed into the redactors like truth into denial. You cannot erase what people choose to remember. The battle ended without a shot. The redactors collapsed. Too many paradoxes, too many unkillable legends. They faded, not in silence, but in the echo of Earth's music, Earth's stubbornness, Earth's pain made beautiful. When the ship returned, only two walked out. Cho, holding the final scarf, knitted in black and gold, the names of everyone they'd lost flowing like constellations. Dent, who had burned himself into the code of every surviving system. He didn't speak anymore. He was the message. Maddox had stayed behind, his final words recorded in a loop. Galactic rule number 1, never touch Earth's generals. Galactic rule number 2, if you try, we become the stories you tell your children to keep them awake at night. Clause 0 reopened as a museum, as promised. But no one called it that. They called it the Echo, where legends lived, and silence feared to tread. And in its central hall stood 4 statues. Briggs, in boots and a grin, tipping his hat. Cho, knitting a bomb with a smile. Dent, made of wires and wonder, eyes aglow. Maddox, holding his coffee, staring down eternity. The plaque read, they were generals. They were ghosts. They were the noise that silence could never erase.